Now, this is interesting because she had been in the music video for Roseanna by Toto, which starred as one of the uncredited dancers, one Patrick Swayze.
Ah, okay. I didn't know
Yeah,
that he'd been a dancer. He used to. I think he'd been in the ballet in
yeah,
Chicago,
yeah,
the Joffrey Ballet.
yeah, that's right.
But I did not know that.
Aye, yeah, well, it took him a while to get going career-wise.
Yeah, because that was what it would have been about 82, maybe.
82 it
Was
was.
that? So yeah, and I know I'm trying to think. He'd been in a couple of things around that time. He was in The Outsiders,
Yes, he was in Outsiders in 83.
83. Yeah, which has quite an impressive cast of faces
Oh.
who went on to bigger and better things.
But in 1984, his breakout role, I guess, was Red Dawn.
Oh God, where he was in there with Jennifer Grey.
He was, yeah, yeah.
That's a nice. Although apparently they didn't get on very well.
Yeah, she's not in the film very much, though.
No, it's been so long since I've seen it. I sounded like a Father Ted quote. God, it's so long since I've seen it. I've forgotten she was in it.
Well, as research, I watched it on Saturday night, and I have to report back that it is utter bollocks. It is painfully bad.
It's those damn Russians, isn't it? Invading small town USA.
Yeah, the first thing they go and capture is the high school.
Of course.
Yeah, sure, okay. It's not just that the geopolitics of it that are bad, and they are, but it's just backwoodsman guerrilla group. Oh, it's just so unbelievable. Oh, it's terrible, and it's totally humorless as well. Compare it to like Rocky IV. Rocky IV is funny. Not always intentionally, but it's kind of funny. And the same with Rambo 2 and 3, they're ridiculous. Red
They
Dawn
contrast quite a lot with the first film. There's a big change there.
Red Dawn doesn't have a sense of its own stupidity.
But it didn't stop them remaking it in 2012 and shifting it from Russia to North Korea.
Not even going to go there.
Oh, and of course, Jennifer Grey, obviously, like I said, she had been in Red Dawn with Swayze, but also the daughter of the Oscar-winning actor and dancer Joel Grey from Cabaret, the MC.
Yeah. Of course, Jennifer Grey had been in Ferris Bueller.
Yes, quite a departure playing Baby compared to Jeannie.
You think?
Well, they both like guys who look like they're from the wrong side of the tracks, dressed in leather.
Yeah. So, yeah. Jeannie obviously is a hilarious character. Neurotic, funny as fuck. And Baby, not too much intentionally funny about her.
Not initially, anyway.
Also, of course, like the big elephant in the room of the film is the abortion theme.
Ah, yes. Or never actually referred to as an abortion or pregnancy. Trouble or that situation.
Yeah, the penny situation.
The penny situation, yes.
Yeah, so as I say, like when I was first seeing this film, I was like 9 years old. And I had no idea that it was about pregnancy or abortion. I had no idea whatsoever. Just thought Penny was ill. It's like, oh, Penny's in trouble. What, is she going to get grounded for staying out late? Like, in trouble how?
I think by the time I got around to seeing it, I knew what in trouble meant and was able to put two and two together. But yeah, it's a jolt, actually, when that comes along in the film, because it's been quite a light film up until we get to this moment.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is very much reflecting the period. Roe versus Wade wasn't until, 1973? Or, in Britain it was 1967. These were tough times if you became pregnant.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
You had to go get the backstreet abortionist.
Oh, God, there's that scene in Alfie that's quite jarring in that regard. All of a sudden the film takes a very dark turn.
Yeah, it's a pretty grim reality.
Yeah.
So it's kind of weird how it kind of tiptoes around this.
Well, yeah, it does, but at the same time, it does address it. It just avoids specifically mentioning it. That's the thing. It's clearly something that's a key element of the film. It's dealt with surprisingly sensitively, I would have said as well. It doesn't get any sense of blame on Penny. If anything, it's Robbie who gets all the shit for it because he's the one who's just ditched.
Yeah. He's the one who gets his comeuppance at the end. He's the one who's made out to be, the bad guy. And this is pretty woke for 87.
Isn't that supposed to be a term of insult now?
It depends who you ask, I guess.
I suppose. Yeah.
Patrick Swayze had been, as I say, in Red Dawn. Then the year after that, he became really quite well known for North and South.
Yeah, not something I've actually seen. I remember it being on the TV as one of those over 2 nights or 3 nights miniseries. But
the ones that ITV used to specialise in.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, the big miniseries adaptations, the ones that have now moved on to Netflix.
Well, they need that space, don't they, to breathe and to tell what's normally a brick of a book.
Yeah. You wish they'd get back to doing stuff like that.
You want another version of Shogun, do you?
I mean, well, yeah, I wouldn't mind. So he'd been in that. Then obviously this was like the huge breakout film for him.
I was trying to think. Yeah, this is the one that really kind of put him out there, wasn't it?
Yeah, very much.
And then I think it was a couple of years later where Ghost nailed it.
Yeah. Well, it was kind of weird because after Dirty Dancing, he kind of made a few like downbeat sort of films, like Tiger Warsaw. I think he was trying to prove his acting chops.
That would be that's the sort of the serious acting bit, isn't it?
Yeah. Tiger Warsaw is pretty fucking grim. He was also in Steel Dawn.
I vaguely remember Steel Dawn. That's sort of apocalyptic, a bit Mad Maxy.
Yeah, it's fucking gosh, but I remember my brother loving it. I hate it.
Those were the kind of films that we were getting rented out for us around about that time. I must admit. I don't quite remember that one.
Then he was in Roadhouse,
which I only saw for the first time a few months ago.
No way! You'd never seen it before?
I'd never seen Roadhouse. I enjoyed it.
Oh my God.
I enjoyed it. Absolute nonsense, but
it's just such cheesy, ridiculous nonsense. It's hilarious. It's got all the self-awareness of Commando.
But I'm telling you, but what it does have, of course, in it is Sam Elliott.
Oh yeah. He anchors that film, doesn't he?
He does. I love him in that film. He's not quite got the magnificent mustache that. No, he doesn't have a mustache, does he? He's just got a bit of stubble. It's the mullet going on. But yeah, in years to come, that man will just be a mustache.
Yeah. So then he was in Next of Kin, which I've never seen. But then Ghost, that was a real breakout. Touches all the bases Hollywood film. Yeah,
that was one of those. That was the point, I think, where he had a bit of a double whammy there, didn't he? Because he had Ghost and followed that up with Point Break. So that covered him on the male and the female side, presumably.
Ghost is so 1990. It's the turn of the decade. It's just when they were trying to push all this new man sort of box, and everyone's a bit more sensitive, and we are going away from the whole yuppie thing.
Yeah, the yuppie's the bad guy,
And God Almighty, does Demi Moore fucking cry in that film? Constantly fucking sobbing to the camera. God, and of course there's the famous pottery scene.
Ah, yes, which has been spoofed so many times that it's very hard to watch and take it seriously. Naked Gun, I think, did the best job on that one.
Hey, if you have been spoofed, you're doing something right.
Very true. Although it's one of those films as well where towards the end where Swayze and Moore finally have their moment together, although technically they don't, and it's all lovely. You see the two of them, and then it's a point where you think, you do realise she's actually snogging Whoopi Goldberg at this point, not Patrick Swayze.
I watched it a couple of months ago, and I think it kind of stands up. It's just really of its time. You can totally feel the 1990 in it.
Yeah, I mean, I remember that from back in the day of the video, and well, actually, probably more when we got Sky in the early 90s. That must have been one of those big films that was premiering right about that time. But it's more his experiences of being a ghost and him learning from Vincent Schiavelli in the subway, and
that's good, isn't it?
And there are some. I'll be honest, when people get dragged to hell.
Gruesome.
That is, well, it's not gruesome, but it's horrible.
creepy. It's
Horrifying.
creepy as
That's
fuck, isn't it?
proper horror moments, yeah. But we've drifted film, sorry.
Yeah. So yeah, Ghost, and then
Then
he
it's
started getting really spiritual, which is always a bad sign.
yeah,
City of Joy, which is one of those East meets West films. Then he was in Fatherhood, which is it's.
He became one of those sort of faces and names who was very much rooted in the late 80s, early 90s. So during the 90s, I honestly cannot think of anything that I'd seen him in.
Well, just after that, he was in Tu Wong Fu.
Oh yeah, you mentioned that. I've never seen that. There was a sort of the Priscilla and Tu Wong Fu came out roughly around the same time, didn't they?
That's right, yeah. I think Tu Wong Fu's a good film. I think I preferred it to Priscilla, Queen of the Desert.
Okay.
It's funny, and I think he plays the character really well. Goes balls out, full
Not
for
literally.
it. So after that, he retreated and checked into rehab for alcoholism. So there's a bit of a hiatus after that. So his real comeback, well, give or take a few films, was Donnie Darko.
Where he's going very against type. The inspirational life coach who turns out to be a paedophile with a kiddie dungeon.
Yeah. I mean, for somebody who was like the pretty boy sort of actor, that must be such a fun role to play, even though it's it's very
the subject matter,
unpleasant.
But I chanced to actually show that he can act as well, because I remember him being pretty good in it, I have to say.
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? The way that these actors who get lauded for being hot and sexy, and he was voted the world's sexiest man by People magazine after Ghost, and then it's always they feel they have something to prove intellectually or ability-wise.
Yeah, they want to be seen as more than just a look.
Yeah, I mean, speaking as someone who has a face for radio.
As we're having a video call here, I can vouch for that.
These problems have never attended upon me, so it seems a bit odd. But then everyone wants what they don't have.
Yeah, true.
If you're getting all this plaudits, then you're just like, well, what about all my talent? What about my acting? What about my thespianism? What about my ability?
Yes. What about this? What about this?
Yeah,
I'm more than this.
And then he sort of drifted off after that. Got a $5 million payoff for being in Dirty Dancing, Havana Nights for about 5 minutes.
He has a very, very brief cameo as dance class instructor. I'm not sure if it even has any lines that link in with the original film. I would expect, I think there's maybe something, or I might be imagining this, but I'm sure I was told that he says he tells somebody to have the time of their life.
Oh, really? Oh, God.
But, here we go.
Yeah. Then a few more things, and then he fell ill.
Yeah, I will say the only other film towards the later end of his career that I remember seeing is a British film called Keeping Mum. It's a black comedy. Rowan Atkinson, Kristen Scott Thomas, Patrick Swayze, and Maggie Smith.
Really? Okay.
As a murdering granny. It's quite a small, quite a low key, low budget, quaint little British film, and Swayze's in it as this sort of Lothario golf instructor who's starting an affair with the vicar's wife, and then the housekeeper basically becomes this sort of avenging angel for the family without anyone knowing. It's worth watching. It's a good bit of fun. Forgettable but entertaining.
Okay, yeah, sort of like on the level of Clockwise, maybe.
Yes, I would say
maybe not as good, but
it's more of a dark end to it. Yeah. And then a bit of TV, and then unfortunately,
the poor bugger.
Cancer.
The poor bugger had pancreatic cancer and died at the age of 54 or something?
59.
59.
59 is all. Yeah. That's just a bit of a shame.
Yeah, that's no age, is it? As we inch up our 40s, you kind of think...
Oh, shush.
You kind of think, 50s? Fuck, man. That's all too soon.
Oh, dear.
Yeah. Yeah, interesting sort of career. He never really stamped his authority on Hollywood or on the time as he might have. He was in a lot of films that were successful. He was in films that might actually be good, but there was nothing sustained. Yeah, I think he made some bad choices career-wise.
I think as soon as you start going big into the religious angle or